Greetings. Hope this day finds you safe, healthy, and happy, and that whatever you're doing, wherever you're doing it, you are just thriving, living your best life, just enjoying life as best you can. I have no idea how this is going to work today. I took this outside because it's going to be just a brief message that I have for you today. I just came outside on the patio here to kind of enjoy the just really nice day. It's that time in the South when here in North Carolina, the humidity doesn't necessarily go away, but the temperature comes down and there's a breeze, and it's just a so much more pleasant environment. It's really, really kind of nice, really enjoyable. And then it goes down into the 40s at night for sleeping. Just kind of cool. It's a great time of year to be in this part of the world. Not which is not what I would say in the summertime. But anyway, here we go. We're going to start off as we always do. Can we read this even in this light? This thing called you, from the one, the only Dr. Ernest Holmes. I'm going to just open this up wherever it falls. And here we go. There's a quote, the back half of a quote. Oh, it's a long one. Okay. No, here's one that I would prefer. I don't predetermine these, by the way. I just pick them when they open up. There's like, I don't know if you can see this, but I have them highlighted, and there's like quotes on I don't know, every third page, every other page, whatever it is, and they're just, I open it up wherever it falls, and that's usually where I start the show, but it's be a little different today. We're just going to read this one and see what we get. Today, I recognize the abundance of life. I animate everything in my experience with this idea. I remember only the good. I accept only the good, and I expect only the good. This is all I experience. I give thanks that this good is flowing in ever-increasing volume. I say to my mind, there is good enough to go around. I do not withhold that good from myself or others, but proclaim that spiritual substance is forever flowing to each and to all as daily supply. And so it is. I love that. The idea of being surrounded by substance, which is always manifesting as my supply, always, depending on my thought, depending on what I'm thinking and how I'm looking at life, and how I'm, what my expectations are, what my expectancy is, not my expectations, because expectations are a one-way ticket to disappointment. But expectancy is just living in that sense that the good and only the good is going to be my experience all the time. And I love that kind of, that phrasing and that idea. So today I want to talk about kind of an interesting subject, something that just really touched me deeply here this past week. Got a newsletter, an email newsletter from my high school. I graduated from high school in 1969. Maybe some of you listening weren't even born then, but I graduated high school in 1969, Archbishop Malloy High School in Jamaica, Queens, New York. I took the Long Island Railroad from Massapequa, New York, which was 30 miles away, into Jamaica Station every day, in and back out, 45 minutes on the train. And then depending on what you wanted to do, you spent, I think it was 15 cents on the subway. So my parents would give me 30 cents for the subway there and back, or you would save that 30 cents and use it for lunch, because we bought our lunch a la carte back there at the old Catholic high school back in the 60s. But anyway, our homerooms were all done by alphabetically, and I don't remember if I did that in public school or not, although I only had the only structure that resembled high school was junior high school, and I don't really remember that. It was 7th and 8th grade. I don't remember what we did there, but for the 4 years of high school, it was all alphabetical, and for a good deal of those 4 years, you had the exact same guys in your homeroom for the entirety of your high school years. And so you got to know them maybe better than a lot of your other classmates, and some of them better than others. Some of them were, depending on who you were. I was kind of on the wild side, I guess, really. I didn't want to go to Malloy. I didn't want to be a preppy Catholic schoolboy. And for the first 2 years, I freaking hated it. But the last 2 years, they were probably the two of the best years of my life. And I absolutely am very thankful that my father had the wherewithal, against my will, but to his better judgment, that he sent me to this incredible Catholic high school where I created lifelong friends. I mean, my closest friends to this day, 55 years after graduating, my closest friends are still guys I graduated from high school with, and one other guy who was just a neighbor of one of those four guys who are my closest friends. But I got this newsletter from the high school last week, and again, email, and I opened it up, and it was like, it's the best one I've ever seen from them. They really kind of went out of their way, lots and lots of information, more information than I've ever seen from anything they've ever sent me in 55 years, and even when I used to get it from snail mail. But in the middle of it was a picture of a friend of mine, a guy who was in my homeroom for 4 years. He actually sat in the very next row and a couple of seats up from me, so I knew him fairly well as a high schooler. And he was someone else who was a little bit on the wild side. So we would interact a little bit outside of school with primarily school events. He lived in the city and I lived on Long Island, like I said. But there's a picture of him, and he was, he lost his hair years ago, so he's had the shaved head, and his ears kind of stuck out a little bit. But there's a picture of him kind of leaning over and a glass of wine in his hand, and it was in memoriam. And I damn near cried. This is a guy who, again, knew him for 4 years of high school, but I also we have maintained contact for almost all of those 55 years, and for at least the last 20 years. We have exchanged Christmas cards, me and my wife, and him and his wife and his two young kids. This was his second marriage, my second marriage as well, but his second marriage for a whole different reason. He married his high school sweetheart. Her name was Camille. His name was Bob. And Camille and Bob were like glued at the hip, man, for I think the last 2 years of high school, maybe the last 3 years of high school. And they got married, and I don't remember the timeline necessarily, the total chronology, but somewhere along the line, Camille contracted a very aggressive and, as I recall, very rare cancer, and it took her out from diagnosis to transition in like weeks, maybe a couple of months, but I think it was more like weeks. Bob then dedicated himself to finding out more about that cancer and cancer treatments. He wrote a couple of books about those kinds of things and about toxicity. And I mean, he really kind of dove into it. And then later in life, he married his second wife, Isabella, and a beautiful woman. They have twins, Gianna and Marco, and actually at our 50th high school reunion, which was, I can't believe, 5 years ago, I thought that was like yesterday, but 5 years ago, Bob was the only person in our entire class that brought his wife to the reunion. So I got to meet her. I had never met her before. I'd only met her through Christmas cards. So she was like, wow, finally get to meet you. And it was kind of a great reunion there. So I had this contact with this guy for 55 years. And I'm 73 years old. I started school late. I was born in 1950, but I was born in December. Everybody I know from high school was born in 1951, because where I grew up, and you had to be 5 by December 1st to start kindergarten. I wasn't going to be 5 until December 20th, so I didn't start until I was almost 6 years old in kindergarten. So I was always the oldest in my class, pretty much. And so it's 73 years old, and we all know. Can't think of anyone in my world who doesn't know someone or some people who passed early, who made their transition early in life. Young people who died of cancer, not so much when I was young, but in this day and age, young people who die of cancer. In my era, there were people we knew who died in Vietnam at 20 and 21 years old. I had a guy who actually went to my high school who was he was like president of the student government, and he was a big star on the track team, went to Vietnam, came home with the monkey on his back, and it wasn't home 6 months, I think, before he OD'd and died. I mean, that's, we all have had those experiences where people pass. Remember two friends of my parents that we were very close to, the Harrises. I can't remember, Bobby and maybe Harold Harris. He was a pilot, and he had his own small plane, and they disappeared over the ocean somewhere down in the islands and were never found. So we all have those experiences. But as you move on through the years and you get older, you become conscious of the fact that 73 years old, I know I'm a whole hell of a lot closer to the end than I am to the beginning. But as a friend of mine expressed to me the other day when I kind of informed him that Bob had passed, he informed me, we're way too young to think about dying or about friends dying. And I thought, wow, even at 73, that's the truth. And to lose Bob, it hurts. And to know he got married later in life for his second marriage, and his twins are 13 years old, or 13, I think. Interestingly, his son is starting at that same high school, Archbishop Muller High School, is carrying on that legacy, which is very cool. But you get to that age where people start to make their transition. And I went to look this up and I didn't, but I think the average life expectancy for someone born when I was in the early 50s, the average life expectancy is probably around 78 or 79 years old. So to lose someone at 73, that plays into the average, right? Because if the average is 78, that means half of them die before that and half of them die after that. But just the fact that you lose a friend makes me stop and reflect. And the reflection is this, and I mean this for everyone, I don't care what age you are. The people you love need to know you love them. The people you care about need to know you care about them. Not just so that they know, but so that you know. So that you have expressed to the people in your life that I almost said give a shit, but I just did, that you give a shit about, that they know that you care about them, but you know that you expressed it. And that they know from your expression that there is a closeness there is a connection there is an attachment there, if you will. That's the good and the bad, but the attachment, right? But because when they pass, if they pass, or when you pass, that attachment then, of course, causes some pain. But if you're in my age bracket, if you're past, I like to say I'm middle age, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to live to 146 years old. So this probably is in the middle. The middle was probably a while back. And if you're past that time, I don't, it doesn't even, that's not true either. I don't care how old you are, because I've known lots and lots. I've spent a lot of time back in the days when I lived in Colorado at Mile High Church. I spent 8 years teaching in the teen church. I spent 8 years building the young adult group. So I spent a lot of time with people between the ages of 18 and 27, 28 years old. Some of them are still my Facebook friends all these years later, but I know several of them who have passed. I know some of them that took their own lives. And I think it's very, very, very important that those friends that they had who had not had an opportunity or not taken the opportunity to say, I love you, or I care about you, or you matter to me, those people have absolute regrets and recriminations when people just out of nowhere die. So I think it applies at any age, every age, wherever you are, you've got friends, you've got loved ones, you've got family, you've got cousins, you've got whatever you've got. But the expression of your love is monumentally important, again, not just to them, but to yourself. And when you get up into the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, there are going to be people who unexpectedly go. There's going to be more of them than when you're younger. And what you really want to be conscious of is that you feel inside good about the idea that they knew you cared, and that you let them know. That's pretty much it. Losing people at any age is tough. Losing people at 73 is, it just, as my friend Bob said, a different Bob said about the Bob who passed, we're too young to be thinking about dying or our friends dying or our acquaintances dying. But you're never too young for it to happen. Maybe too young to think about it. I mean, I never thought about death at all when I was younger. Before I got sober, I was 8 foot tall and bulletproof. Never thought about death. But you get a little bit older and you start to think in terms of, wow, like I said before, I am closer to the end than I am to the beginning. And it's your mortality is a sobering thought, but the mortality of your friends and loved ones is a sad thought when it happens before you're ready for it or before you've told them that you care. Let them all know that you care. No commercials today. I just, if you follow the show, you know that the show is brought to you by my sponsor is HempWorks, the manufacturer, the distributor of the world's cleanest, purest, and most potent CBD and hemp products. Um, Always remember that New Thought Media Network is I don't understand why this isn't moving, but anyway, New Thought Media Network is a nonprofit organization. Um, when the spirit moves you, go to ntmedia.org. That's newthoughtmedia.org, ntmedia.org, and click on donate. And we are always immensely grateful for anything and everything that you have to donate to us. If for any reason you want to get a hold of me, right there, teamrockitnow@gmail.com. And let's see if this works here. I'll try that one there. There you go. There's a crawl. ntmedia.org. I don't want that there, though. We'll go back to my email address. There you go. I'm always grateful to hear from you. If you have a comment you want to make on any of my platforms, you can go to my Facebook page, Ken Ludwig. You can also find my beloved Lisa and I at Vibrant Aging, which is our Facebook page, our branded Facebook page. Goes hand in hand with Vibrant Living right here. And that's about it. And as always, I'm immensely grateful for the great gift of your time and your attention. I always wish you all the love and all the blessings the universe has to offer. I hope you will join me every Thursday, 2 o'clock Mountain Time, 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And until the next time, namaste, my friends.